Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Thursday. It is the Earthmaster here on this end. About 11:25 a.m. here, California time, April 4th, 2024, and the rain is coming down out here along the West Coast. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.4 here across the southern end, or at least the southeastern end here of the Java Trench. We get to the earthquake activity here in just a little bit. Want to cover the potential cloud cover obscuring the totality this Monday. We're roughly about 100 hours out. This is the 102 map range here, set for right about totality time, Monday, April 8th. So here is the GFS model showing still quite a bit of consistency in the cloud coverage out here across the majority of the totality line, and that includes areas well up north as well. Now, the ECMWF model is a little bit less. This is going to be Monday at, this is the icon. This is the Germany version of the weather forecasting. So even these guys here are showing quite a bit of cloud cover here for Texas. A lot of low-level, mid-level moisture and some high clouds out there as well, with potential openings up here across Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana area. But there's a little window of opportunity here, it looks like, from the Germany version. Now, if we check out the European version here of the weather forecasting, a little bit less cloud coverage. Now, there still is some cloud coverage out here in the lighter gray area out here. I'm thinking these are going to be high clouds, and they're showing most of the thickness in terms of moisture back over here across eastern Texas. And as you can see, it kind of trails off here away from the totality line, which would stretch up here, something like this up here. So, which one are we going to believe? Which one's the more accurate model? A lot of people asking, and it's hard to say. GFS is always going to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of the potential cloud coverage. As you can see here, it shows a lot more cloud coverage and a lot of low-level moisture out there as well. Let me show you guys the GFS model right here. This is 102 hours out, GFS. That's a lot of cloud coverage out here if this takes place, which would dampen the moods out there across the area in terms of people being able to see the eclipse. Let's go back here to the Germany version here. This is the ICON. Again, these guys still show a lot of cloud coverage here across Texas, with openings going up here across the Arkansas area. The white on this map is not going to be clouds. It's going to be openings here as far as clarity. The blue out here is almost 100% cloud coverage. As you can see, the 100% there as it follows the cursor. So we're getting down there. We're definitely getting very close to Monday. I'm thinking tomorrow for Friday, I'm going to make a decision on if I'm going out here or not. Because if it looks similar to this tomorrow, I'm probably going to cancel my plans from driving from California out to the Texas area. Because, it doesn't do any good to have cloud coverage out there. Not going to really see much. And I didn't plan on taking another 10-hour drive up north here to Arkansas, or maybe even further up along this line. So I'll probably have to cancel it. I did get to see the 2017 one, Totality, up in Madras, Oregon. That was a beauty. We're not going to have another total eclipse out here like this for another 20 years in the year 2044. So for those of you that do have clarity out here Monday, definitely, it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event unless you plan on flying somewhere around the world at a future date. But another 20 years before we see something like this out here. And I'm a little bit bummed out myself, but the cloud cover is looking consistent across many areas. As we look at the GFS run for Monday right about here, that's, there's a low pressure system days before here that's bringing in a lot of moisture. A lot of times these low pressures can leave behind a lot of cloud coverage. And right about there is the totality time frame on Monday, April 8th at 18Z. And as you can see, there's already a whole bunch of moisture here pulling up, starting to fire up some storms. And it's not going to be a good day. It's going to be a lot of severe weather potential as well down there, it looks like. So, we'll cover this again tomorrow. Let me show you here on day 5. Let's see, day 5 is going to be... This is going to be Monday during the eclipse. Look at this. They even have a 15% chance for some severe weather out here for that date. Kind of a big deal. So there's going to be a lot of unstable air, a lot of moisture out here. And, of course, moisture meaning cloud cover potential as well. Let me bring back the ECMWF model. This one here, I mean, it's decent. Some high clouds out there, but the majority of Texas out here is not going to be in a clear zone. Potential area is going to be further up here, up north, around Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, maybe. These are roughly high clouds. If you look at the low cloud base, you see a lot of low-level moisture coming in from the Gulf. Look at this wind bringing it all in here, south wind. Cloud base here is going to show what type of clouds are out here, and the majority of this lighter colored stuff is going to be high cirrus clouds, around 28,000 feet or so, 30,000 feet, maybe higher. But if you got a thick layer of high cirrus clouds up there in the atmosphere, not gonna, it's really not gonna make viewing the totality any easier. Because a lot of times that can block out the sun, the view of the sun anyway. So we'll check back on this a little bit later tonight. Each model run is going to be more consistent here, folks, on where to potentially set up. But right now, goodness, it just doesn't look good anywhere out here unless you're out around maybe the Arkansas area, Illinois, Indiana. We'll check back on that a little bit later. All right, so far as earthquake activity goes, what do we got going on here on the globe? As far as most recent activity, looks like that 3.4 there across the Java Trench. New Zealand did see some activity down there. It looks like a 3.3 South Island area. We did see some further movement, deeper activity here along the Kermadec Trench, and some deeper activity up here into the Tonga Trench. That's going to be these earthquakes down here. Look at that 4.5 coming in this morning about 5 o'clock or so local time. 360 kilometers deep for that quake. Up here in Japan, the latest quake here in this area looks like that's going to be the 6.1 from last night or yesterday, late afternoon time period. That's a decent earthquake. It doesn't look like we've seen anything further, though, following that quake. Really not seeing any aftershocks up here. The Taiwan area still seeing some movement with a little bit of aftershock activity south here. Looks like at least 2 earthquakes here, 4.9 and a 4.4 today so far. I'm sure there's some smaller quake activity out here, but not showing up on the USGS map. Areas of interest today are definitely out across this area around the Himalayas, outside the Nepal area, and the Atlantic Ocean out here getting pretty active in terms of the divergent activity out here. We've got a 5-pointer out here just outside the Azores Islands region. Looks like there may have been another earthquake out here, at least according to the map, 4.5 and a 5.0. Some activity north of Iceland as well. Let's check out Iceland real quick and see what's going on as we are definitely getting some further divergent activity out there. Looks like one of the craters, I'm guessing that's the big one, still somewhat viewable. We're still active, I should say, not really viewable. All that volcanic gas and stuff looks like it is headed straight towards the camera, obscuring the clarity and view of the eruption, but I can still see some fountaining going on back here, which means the eruption is still ongoing. So let's see what we got. If there's any latest update here on the map from the Icelandic Met Office, and it was looks like this was put out today. Their statement states that the eruption continues. 2 craters active. The northern crater, which is the larger one here. Looks like a waveform cross-section showing deformation from March 18th to April 3rd shows that the land has risen by 3 centimeters in the Svartsengi area during that period. So it looks like we're slowing down at the surface levels and starting to backbuild some pressure underneath the area once again. There's definitely a longer eruption, way longer eruption compared to the last few out here in this area. The last couple ones there only consisted of about a day or two of eruption. We're well past 2 weeks now. So we're slowing down at the surface, getting some inflation going on here underneath. Might be seeing this thing end and maybe start building back up as far as the inflation area goes at the reservoir, the magma reservoir below the surface. Lava continues to flow south from the craters on top of a lava bed formed in the first days of the eruption. So we're just continuing to stack and stack and stack and build new land out there. No new signs of advancement as far as the lava field goes towards the Grindavik area. Oh, here's an interesting little article, or the map of it. It's pretty cool. This shows the general displacement here of the land. There's that 3 centimeter, I think that's what they mentioned, 3 centimeters of uplift there across the Svartsengi area. So looks like things may be getting ready to halt, at least as far as the surface activity goes, and continue to build the area below, and then maybe for the next eruption here in a few weeks or so. We'll have to watch it. This one's definitely a lot different, as far as the duration and the consistency of all this magma just flowing to the surface. This is the wind map. Looks like that is headed all straight north, due north from the ongoing eruption activity there. So we'll continue to watch that. Let me see if we've got any different earthquake activity going up there. This is the latest map here. Last 12 hours of earthquake activity. A little bit here across the rift zone, a ways away from the Grindavik area, which is down here. Really no unusual activity taking place here that would lead me to believe that there's, more involved as far as like any further eruption activity away from what we're seeing already. So we'll continue to watch it. That's about all we can do right now and see what it wants to do. All right, West Coast activity. Looks like California had a little bit of activity here on the San Andreas Fault. That's going to be one of these earthquakes here. 1.3 right smack dab on the plate boundary itself. A little bit here on the Pacific and a little bit on the North American side of the plate boundary. Nothing major going on here today. 2.5 map and above. We'll pull that up right now. Pretty much gets rid of all the earthquakes except for a 2.6 here around the Long Valley supervolcano, just south here around the Mount Tom area outside of the Bishop region there in Southern California. Aside from that, Bay Area, fairly quiet, a handful of smaller quakes. Typical movement up here across the Clear Lake volcanic field. And into the Pacific Northwest, there's Mount St. Helens area. Seeing some more earthquake activity again. Looks like quite a bit there, at least in the last 24 hours. Last week or so does show a handful of earthquakes up here, mainly microquake activity, very small quakes. And, well, let's go check that out right now and see what we got for the Mount St. Helens area. Just want to double check. It is green. No unusual activity, no heightened activity, but these earthquake swarms have been popping up here from time to time. More so last year when we've seen about a month and a half or so of decent microquake activity. Check out the gas emission stations here real quick. Carbon dioxide there, very minimal. Sulfur dioxide chart here looks very typical here on any given day. As you can see, no sharp rises there in the gas emission stations. Hydrogen sulfide, about the same as well. Really not seeing anything that would indicate volcanic activity aside from the background levels. Here is the earthquake map here, seismograph station, showing a couple of these earthquakes here that they mentioned. It's going to be these little spikes, and remember, those are awfully small. They're reporting those as a see what the largest magnitude is here, 0.5. That was about 1 o'clock this morning my time. So as you can see, there is not a whole lot of large-scale activity. Otherwise, we'd be seeing larger signatures here. So there's a couple. You know, if you look at all these little spikes here, these could be ice quakes, but also at the same time, you know, these could be earthquakes. Some of these other ones look decent, like they are indeed little microquakes. So there's a handful, I would say, out here, but nothing major. Just a little earthquake activity there across Mount St. Helens. Tremor last night. Let's see here. We didn't check that. I didn't get a chance to do a late night update. Got in kind of late. No tremor. No tremor at all occurring out here across the west coast of the Cascadia subduction zone. Nothing going on. That continues the declining tremor amount out here in the last couple years. Let's see what else we got outside of the Ogden, Utah area. A handful of smaller quakes there from yesterday. Yellowstone National Park. Nothing going on here. But let's double check that and make sure. I think it's working. It should be working. I checked it earlier. There we go. Just a little pause there. Really not seeing any earthquake activity. It does look like we're seeing wind events right now. Look at that. See that? Right down here on the bottom. That is showing up across numerous seismograph stations. How do I know it's wind? It's a very easy way to check out here. We'll go up. This is the consistent winds, but the wind gusts up here across some of these other areas of Yellowstone are probably higher than this. We're looking at 30-mile-per-hour gusts or so. Certain other areas around 35. But that type of wind will show up on the seismograph stations here. All right, what else we got here as far as the Caribbean plate? Looks like we had low activity here today so far. 5.1 off the coast there of El Salvador. Very typical for this area. 56 kilometers deep into the Middle America Trench. That was followed up a few hours later with some movement back over here across the Dominican Republic of 3.9. Doesn't look like there's anything major going on here. Just typical activity across this area of the Middle America Trench. Same for the South America region, although this area down here looks a little bit quieter than normal. There's obviously a handful of earthquakes here, but most of the time it's fairly cluttered down here with quakes. There's an activity out here across the Himalaya range. Let me see what we got. It does look like that's into a portion of India up here. Far northern side of the Himalayas, it looks like. 5.2. Some earthquake activity in China last night. Way up there. So we'll just kind of see how today goes. It's it's a pretty it's been in that past couple days has been pretty active, to say the least, with all the large scale activity. There's another 2.8 kind of stretching up here across the Java Trench. It looks like things starting to migrate out here across that plate boundary. All right, space weather activity. Got anything major going on here across the space weather world? Looks like we're starting to come up a little bit here. Look at the last couple days. We're way down there in the B flare category. That's pretty much non-existent activity here in the last couple hours. Just barely spiking here a little bit, showing some type of unstable activity. I'm guessing it's coming off of 3628. That is our newest sunspot out here, coming off the eastern limb here. All other areas look very quiet and stable. So we got this one here. It doesn't look like much. It looks like a simple sunspot. but that's about it. Really no major elevated space weather potential out here right now. A look at the far side of the sun. This is a couple days old here. I guess this one's a little bit more recent. There's our newer sunspot right here. I know it's going to be right here on this map, but this is actually the eastern limb. It's just split. Let me see here. That would be the eastern limb, yep. So there's our newer sunspot right now, the one coming in. And back behind that, there's really not a lot. There's 3615, the culprit of a lot of M flares here a week or so ago. We'll see if that one holds steady, and maybe we'll see it return in a couple weeks. But yeah, it looks like there's going to be a whole lot of nothingness coming up here. This is the eastern limb on this area, so things are going to be a little quiet here for a short while. Here's the visible disk of the sun. There's 3628. Again, that looks fairly stable in terms of complexity. Not really expecting too much out there right now. West Coast activity. We got a decent low pressure system out here. Beautiful low pressure spinning right over Northern California. We're getting some decent rainfall right now here where I'm at, just outside of Chico. Pretty heavy band of rain coming in. And it's going to be a cold, rainy day. Temperatures out here. That says 46 in Chico. I got 40 degrees in my backyard. So it looks like some areas out here a little bit cooler than what they're showing here. But that's a cold day for an April. I mean, that for an afternoon high in the 40s, that's almost, I mean, that's unheard of out here. It's pretty cold for April. Some snow up in the mountains, it looks like. Yeah, this low pressure is just going to spin off here, Northern California, for a little bit, tap into some moisture, bringing with it a decent amount of rain. Let's see what we got for rainfall accumulation. These guys showing over half an inch. We got a quarter of an inch right now so far this morning. HRR model showing less than that. GFS model about the same. But hey, either way, we're getting some extra rainfall out here that will help with keeping things a little bit greener. But it's been definitely a nice winter so far. There it is. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful image of that deep low pressure trough. A lot of cold, unstable air associated with this low pressure system. Could see some thunderstorms as well built in here or integrated into the low. That's crazy. Beautiful. All right, folks. I'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this afternoon. There's it's just a waiting game with this potential eclipse on Monday. The question is, which model is accurate? Which one's going to be the more accurate model? All of them are showing, some type of system going on. A little bit more clouds than the others on certain models, but there's not going to be clarity out here all over the place. There might be some areas up around Arkansas, maybe Illinois area, but most models are in agreement with cloud coverage out here. Just how much is the question? Which one do we believe? We'll cover this and more a little bit later on this evening, folks. I got to get some schoolwork done, and we'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later. Stay safe, and if you're out here in California, stay dry.